Intelligence agencies have infiltrated and created some satanic groups, with the resurgence of these groups beginning in 1966, particularly with the birth of the Church of Satan, founded by Anton LaVey. LaVey studied criminology in San Francisco and worked in the San Francisco Police Department Crime Lab. He also worked as an informant for Interpol. Prior to the Church of Satan, LaVey ran a group called the Magic Circle. LaVey's most famous associate is the National Security Agency General Michael Aquino. At the time of his membership in LaVey's group, Aquino was an Army specialist in intelligence and psychological warfare. Aquino's thesis stated that enemy populations could be subdued by inflicting a state of psychological terror and feelings of imminent destruction. He discusses the use of psychotronic weapons or electromagnetic weapons that influence the mind by extremely low frequency signals piggybacked on broadcasts of radio, TV, or microwave communications in order to influence and manipulate the thoughts and feelings of the target population. During the 1960s, he was prominent in the Church of Satan and a close friend of Anton LaVey until he started his own Church of Set. A police intelligence report dated July 1, 1981 reads, quote, "The Church of Set is a group of hundreds of members that operates on a national level. Michael Aquino is the official head and rules through a council of 9 who are in fact his lieutenants," unquote. He discusses the use of psychotronic weapons or electromagnetic weapons that influence the mind. Capitulation could be induced without firing a shot by extremely low frequency signals piggybacked on broadcasts of radio, TV, or microwave communications in order to influence and manipulate the thoughts and feelings of the target. General Aquino is now the highest ranking officer in the National Security Agency, along with General Black and General Hayden. It is important to remember that General Aquino is first and foremost a military intelligence officer with over 40 years' experience in counterinsurgency operations and an expert in psychological warfare. General Aquino's psychological warfare campaign has started or infiltrated cults and other closed systems as part of a concerted effort to control large numbers of people and to destabilize the centers of constitutional and legal authority, both here in the United States and in other nations.
In 1976, the Process Church came to public attention in the David Berkowitz case, or Son of Sam. Berkowitz had supposedly been inducted into the cult, and they were meeting at Untermyer Park in Yonkers. The New York police were taken on a tour of Untermyer Park by a man known as the Artist, and this did confirm a lot of what Berkowitz had said, although it is still speculative. Stanley Kubrick also made a movie called Eyes Wide Shut, which also alluded to a group like this. Here are some other examples of other cults in existence today.
The Order of the Solar Temple. The Order of the Solar Temple is a secret society that claims to be based upon the ideals of the Knights Templar, and it was started by Joseph Di Mambro and Luc Jouret in 1984 in Geneva. The aims of the Order of the Solar Temple include establishing correct notions of authority and power in the world, and affirmation of the primacy of the spiritual over the temporal, assisting humanity through a great transition and preparing for the second coming of Christ as a solar god king. In October of 1994, an infant was killed at the group center in Morin Heights, Quebec. The baby had been stabbed repeatedly with a wooden stake. It was believed that Di Mambro ordered the murder because he identified the baby as the Antichrist described in the Bible. He believed that the Antichrist was born into the order to prevent Di Mambro from succeeding in his spiritual aim. A few days later, Di Mambro and 12 followers performed a ritual Last Supper. A few days after that, apparent mass suicides and murders were conducted at Chéry and Savan, 2 villages in western Switzerland. 15 Inner Circle members committed suicide with poison, 30 were killed by bullets or smothering, and 8 others others were killed by other causes. In Switzerland, many of the victims were found in a secret underground chapel lined with mirrors and other items of Templar symbolism. The bodies were dressed in the order's ceremonial robes and were in a circle, feet together, heads outward, most with plastic bags tied over their heads. They had each been shot in the head. It's believed that the plastic bags were a symbol of the ecological disaster that would befall the human race after the OTS's members moved on to Sirius. A mayor, journalist, and civil servant were all found among the dead in Switzerland. Some members had personally donated over $1 million to De Mombro. More mass suicides were to come. One was thwarted on December 16th, 1995, but on the 23rd, 16 bodies were discovered in a star formation in France. And in 1997, 5 members of the OTS took their own lives in Quebec. And number 1, the Branch. The Branch are a religious group that originated in 1955. David Koresh's arrival on the Waco compound in 1981 was well received by everyone at the Davidian commune. Koresh had an affair with then prophetess of the Branch Davidians, Lois Roden. When she died, her son George Roden inherited the position of prophet and leader of the commune. However, George Roden and Koresh began to clash. Koresh soon enjoyed the loyalty of the majority of the Branch community. As an attempt to regain support, George Roden challenged Koresh to raise the dead, going so far as to exhume a corpse to demonstrate his spiritual supremacy. This illegal activity gave Koresh an opportunity to attempt to file charges against Roden. However, he didn't have any evidence. This led to the November 3rd, 1987 raid on the Mount Carmel Center by Koresh and 7 of his followers, equipped with 7 rifles, 2 shotguns, and nearly 400 rounds of ammunition. Their objective was to retake the land that Koresh had left 3 years earlier, although they claimed to have been trying to obtain evidence of Roden's illegal activity, yet they did not come equipped with a camera. On February 28th, 1993, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the Cool Bureau, attempted to execute a search warrant relating to alleged sexual abuse charges and illegal weapons violations at the Waco compound. The ATF, already prepared for a gun battle, attempted to raid the compound for approximately 2 hours until their ammo supplies began to run low. 4 ATF agents were killed during the raid, and another 16 were wounded. There were 5 Branch Davidians killed in the raid. Almost 6 hours after the ceasefire, Michael Schroeder was shot dead by ATF agents who alleged that he fired a pistol at agents as he attempted to re-enter the compound. After the raid, ATF agents established contact with Koresh and others inside of the compound. The FBI took command after the deaths of the federal agents and managed to facilitate the release of 19 children relatively early into the negotiations. Allegedly, the children had been physically and sexually abused long before the raid. On April 19th, 1993, almost 2 months later, the FBI moved for a final siege of the compound using large weaponry such as .50 caliber rifles and armored combat engineering vehicles to combat the heavily armed Branch Davidians. The FBI attempted to use tear gas to flush out the Branch without bloodshed. Once the Branch opened fire, the FBI's response was to increase the amount of gas being used. Around noon, 3 fires broke out in the compound in separate parts. The government maintains the fires were deliberately started by the Branch. Some Branch survivors maintain the fires were started by the FBI. 76 Branch Davidians died on April 19th, with only 9 surviving, killed by rubble, suffocating effects of the fire, or by gunshot wounds from fellow Branch Davidians. That whole siege was a mess and went down in notoriety in U.S. history. Well,